Hello, lovely fans of the Quota Crusher podcast. Today, we shall be talking about don't be afraid to walk away from unqualified prospects. Oh, trust me, it will set you free. Let me explain. As a salesperson with high optimism, that means back when I was selling, I thought every deal that went in the pipeline was going to close. In fact, I have such high optimism and excitement and passion and enthusiasm for selling that sometimes I thought a deal was going to close before I ever did a discovery. You might think I'm crazy. Half of you think I'm crazy right now. The other half are nodding their heads going, I know the feeling. Prospecting is hard work. In fact, it can take up 70% of a rep's work week. You finally get that sales meeting. You finally get somebody to say that they want to meet with you. Glorious. Super exciting. I would forecast those deals to my manager. I'd put it in the pipeline. I'd drop the revenue in Salesforce before I'd ever go to my discovery meeting. It just felt so good to have something to show for the hard work that I was doing. So I'd go on the meeting, high optimism, and early in my career, I wasn't as great as I could have been on discovery and needs analysis. I was really just looking for enough reasons to put together a proposal, and typically that only takes 30, 40 minutes and maybe 15, 20 questions. And you get the info that you need to create a proposal and put it together and get that forecasted. And for me, that's what I thought sales was. I played it as a numbers game. I thought, well, if I get enough of these, eventually someone's going to buy from me, right? Right. Well, then I also noticed that if I wanted to be the number one rep, which was what I set out to do in my first year, and of course every year after that since I've been selling, but I realized that there were a lot of prospects in my pipeline that really didn't deserve to be there. They were unqualified, and they didn't have a buying reason or enough of a reason to change from their current provider. Or I didn't use my confidence to ask the big tough questions around the budget or who might give them the most pushback internally. I sometimes forgot to make sure that all the influencers and decision makers were in the room, and I would sell to just the one person that agreed to take the meeting with me, even though I knew they weren't the final decision makers. A lot of rookie mistakes, but they're super common. Okay, here's how you gain that confidence to walk away from prospects that are most likely not going to buy from you. One, you've got to understand who your ideal customer is. Like, go through your current list of clients, or if you don't get to service your clients, think about the last few clients that you sold, companies that you sold, and I want you to pull out characteristics about them that you love. Find the demographic information, which is static information, so looking at their size, their industry, where they're geographically located. Then take a look at some of the psychographics, so these are lifestyle characteristics. Uncover what was great about them emotionally, how emotionally invested were they in your product or service, or doing business with you, or solving that problem that they had. How much do they value your product or service or your industry that you're in? So looking at some of those psychographic factors, and some of the best psychographic factors, that they're willing to spend money. How many times do we get to that budget step, and even though their problem is ginormous, all of a sudden they magically don't have any money to invest to solve or fix the problem? It's like, okay, think about all of your favorite characteristics of your ideal client. Map all of that out, and then figure out, how do we recreate this? Well, you have to realize that you're going to have a smaller amount of ideal prospects that match this lineup. So what are you going to do? You're going to continue to meet with them and then forecast the revenue on something that in your gut, this is a snowball's chance in Hades that they're going to buy from me. What do? The great sales reps, the best sales reps, the years when I finally embraced this and became a dynamite number one sales rep, is I realized that it's okay to say no to a prospect. It's okay to not forecast the revenue. It's okay to be smarter and wiser this time around than you have been in the past. You're allowed to not hold on to the prospect and cling for dear life, trying to fit them into your mold and get them to buy from you. It's okay. It's okay to say no. Can we hashtag that? It's okay to say no. to unqualified prospects. Thanks, Riley. Here's how you thank you. Here's how you can have that discernment to know who's qualified and not. And this is the cool part. It makes you a way better salesperson. Have your map of ideal qualifications and make yourself ask the questions to uncover if they're qualified or not early and often in the sales process. I recommend breaking out your qualify call, like your intro qualify call, when you're still determining if you should have the sales meeting. If you're part of a sales engine that has top of funnel reps, BDR, SDR, make sure that they also are understanding how to qualify and what is a true qualified sales meeting that they're setting up for you. Now, once you do that initial qualification, only you can create the benchmarks of what's most important for you, some of those big deal breakers. Maybe you've got a premium priced product and you have a lot of smaller companies that really want to buy from you, but you know every time you go to sell a smaller company, you get into the price negotiation and they've just never spent money like that before. Yet time and time again, you keep taking these meetings like you're the crazy one here. So whatever that deal breakers are, red flags, things that happen that you just know commonly are reasons why people don't buy from you, that could be a red flag that you want to screen for in the beginning. But know what your qualifications are. Get through the qualification step and then have a wicked dynamite discovery needs analysis. Deals are won or lost in discovery. They're won or lost in discovery. I think I'm going to say that in every single episode just so that you can remember that. The quality of questions that you ask in your discovery and needs analysis meeting determine the success of the rest of your sales cycle and sales process. Okay, so when you get into that discovery meeting, you have to use your spidey senses and your gut feeling on, is this going to be someone that's going to buy from me or not? If you can back into the problem, so here's the problem at hand, right? When you walk in, the risk of doing business with you is greater because you're an unknown than them staying with what they have today. Even if they're bleeding right now and they have a terrible problem, it's your responsibility to earn the credibility and trust to get that to shift to where they say the risk of staying where they are is greater than the risk of doing business with you. But that's your job as a salesperson. But you should only progress prospects in your pipeline that are qualified and deserve to be in your pipeline. So you've got to use your own judgment and discernment and your gut feeling on, is this a qualified prospect or not? Here's something that I've learned along the way in sales, that you can spend too much time with people who are never going to buy from you. In fact, it still plagues the best of us today, especially those of us with big hearts and we love people and we want to do right by them and we want to serve them and we genuinely believe that they're interested in our product and service. How many of you have that prospect that you've done 7 coffees with? They touch base, they're always willing to meet with you, but it's crazy because they're not willing to sign up for your services. And for those of you that have really strong business acumen, they might even be getting free consulting from you, and they're going to continue to get it, but from you as long as you're willing to give it. But you've got to have the discernment to know when to walk away. Bottom line is, if you fill your pipeline and especially your forecast to your management team with deals that you know are healthy and good, we want to make sure that they have a reason to do business with you. You're actually solving a problem. There's quantifiable ROI. You have a pain, a problem. There's an undesirable result. Something occurring in the business today that's not good, and you can solve that. What is it? You should be able to go to your manager after every single deal and tell them they will do business with us because fill in the blank. If you cannot answer that question, please go do another discovery meeting. The second one is, what are they willing to spend? A lot of reps have been trained to get an invoice, a current invoice of what they're paying today. And I think that that's a super good benchmark. It should be exposed of what they're paying. Sometimes when we look at those invoices, we realize they're overpaying or they're underpaying or they're paying for something they didn't know that they had or whatnot, right? You can find a lot of things in invoices, but that's not the end of the budget story. If you can take what they're already spending and then you did a great job, right, in your discovery, so you know how much their pain, problem, or undesirable result is costing them, and you wrap some money around that and did some calculations, you add that on top. And then you can look at the magnitude of the problem, like how long has it been happening and how much is the problem going to cost if they don't do anything. If they just let the problem sitting there right now, maybe they want to push it off to next quarter, to the beginning of next year. Well, this is going to compound, so how much is it going to continue to cost them? If you can stack all that up and have an intelligent conversation around budget, then you can have qualification around the money step of this equation and figuring out the financial investment that they are willing and able to make. Then we want to look at your decision team. Gone are the days of a single decision maker. Again, I've had the privilege of sitting in on thousands of sales meetings, my own, others that I've been able to shadow and coach, and it's such a common theme. There's a decision maker in the mix that nobody knew about, and sometimes it's not your typical title. It could actually be the end user. It could be the person who's using your product or service or your competitor's product or service, the incumbent, and they have all this weight. And this executive, so you did a great job. You followed all the great sales trainers' advice and you got the meeting with the executive, but come to find out, the executive can't pull the trigger on the deal because the person who actually uses the product or service went to them and said, if you change this, I'm quitting. And they're like, I can't lose this person. If you're not meeting with everybody on the decision team and understanding every single one of the buying criteria, well, then that's your mistake. You've got to go back and get that information. And then timing, just digging into when are we doing this and why is that timeline important? A lot of reps get this, oh, hey, they want to go live on July 1. Sweet. Why? What's the impact? What's the reason? Because you've got to dig in and figure out, because deals are notorious for pushing. And so if they gave you July 1, but then you gathered 3 or 4 reasons why it has to be that date, if your deal goes into jeopardy of being pushed or they're not signing by a certain timeline, then you can use the prospect's words and hold them to that. But you have to have that criteria determined. You have to have all of those pieces. And if you're not able to get those answers, you need to go back and get them. And then when you get answers that don't satisfy those buckets, then we can deem this prospect an unqualified person. Unqualified prospect. Take them out of the pipeline. Quit fooling yourself. Why do you keep projecting it? Why, does it make you feel good? Does it make it look like you're working hard? Why do you keep it in there when you know this person is not going to buy from you? My recommendation, get them out of the pipeline. Thanks for listening to today's podcast on our Quota Crusher series.